Good morning, everybody. Stay as co-host. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Okay, affirmations. These are the following affirmations I actually always say to myself, and I wanted to share them with you guys, just so if you do journal at some point in time, you guys have these affirmations for yourself if you like them, or you can go from it. So I always say, I'm always at the right place at the most perfect time, experiencing everything exactly how I'm supposed to experience it all the time. I say this to me whenever I go to different places. I say, I'm always at the right place at the right time. I'm always meeting the right people at the right moment in time. And it's powerful. And you know what? It's actually interesting because I went to a networking event like a few weeks ago, and I hadn't even realized that I was speaking to a former mayor of Brantford. And he was telling us a story, myself and somebody else. And he looks at me, and I don't know what made me say this, but at that moment in time, I said, I'm always at the right place at the right time. And he looked at me and he paused what he was saying. He says, You're a very powerful woman. And I didn't even see that one recognition coming. And then he then shifts his attention and then continues to speak to the person. And then he stops himself mid-sentence and he looks at me again. And he says, You're a very powerful woman. Like, to confirm. And as we went on to the conversation, I didn't even realize that he was the former mayor of Brantford. And so to receive a recognition because of my habitual training within my affirmations, I'm sure you could imagine that someone within of that caliber of that position would be studying something like this as well. Their mind, their abilities, what they're able to do. Because for someone to be in such a level of position, he has to think bigger than himself because he's making a lot more decisions that what he's personally even trained or habitually grown into doing, unless obviously there's this line of politics within his family, right? So there's always that mindset shift. There's always that change that we need to go through within our lives. And it makes us uncomfortable. It does. But it's because of the paradigms that we exist in. So another thing that I say as an affirmation is I listen with two ears and an open heart all the time. Whenever people talk, they listen to react and to respond. Who here asks, "Hey, how are you?" "Hey, how are you?" Yeah? Yeah? You know that's not really a question. It's it's not a question, right? We're not really asking. It's like habitual. But it's not genuine. We're not being true to ourselves. It was something that actually supposed to mean something. But for some reason, by way of evolution of time, it becomes a saying rather than a meaning. I hear words, I feel meaning. And so, one of the things that as I went through my mindset journey, as I mature, as I get older into this and study this, I practice this to myself to genuinely ask or to genuinely acknowledge a compliment such as, "How are you?" What a beautiful question as I lag and think what they actually mean about asking, "How are you?" Because I want to exercise a thought. I want to exercise a thought. I don't want to be programmed because right now we're programmed. A typical response to "How are you?" is "I'm good, you." That's programming. That's why AI's taking over because they would at least know better. They would maybe make a joke because they could program themselves to do that much quicker than ours, even though we are much better than them because we created them, right? So it's like it's this constant change of mind. It's this constant change of habits. I hear words, I feel meaning. Who here likes these affirmations? Do you guys like these affirmations? Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
It
100%.
yeah, right, Fitz? And it's always it's beautiful whenever you're talking to somebody, a friend, a colleague, guys, workplaces, investment partners, brothers, sisters, mom, dad. I hear words that I feel meaning. Everyone only hears what they feel. It's not about the words, because the words will change. So we have to be very careful with understanding that, because that's honestly that is what makes us connect as human. That's what creates you to understand people's energetic readings for yourself as well, right? Because you don't want to be around people who are in a different energy, and you won't know that unless you consistently practice that discernment of hearing and truly hearing with your heart. How else can we help other people if we can't feel what they're truly feeling, right? So um who we are, self-image. And here's a very interesting idea actually. The self-image that we think of ourselves are pretty much everything within the physical manifestation of who we are. Okay? But we live in three planes of understanding. We are like we have this inner consciousness. We are this spiritual creature. We have intellect, the ability to hear and understand and comprehend and make decisions and build your life. Intellect. And we live in physical bodies. That is the three planes of understanding that we exist to live in. And who we are is distorted because we think we are our name. Bob was gifted to you by your parents. Did you have a choice, Bob, when you were born? Did you choose your name? No. You didn't have a choice too, eh? Yeah, I didn't. I couldn't choose. Isabel, right? Those names, those are given to us. They're not us, right? Our our bodies, we don't say am body, am hand. We say my body, my hand. We talked about this last week. Have you ever been in a point where you had to say, go, you can do it to yourself? Whether you're running, exercising, doing something that's very difficult, you can do it. You can do it. You know, you've chanted that to yourself. Who's that you? The exploration is to know that you, guys, that is the beginning. Because when you know who you are, then you know what you can do. Without knowing who you are, you can't do anything. Right? So who we are far beyond the physical manifestation of who we think, what we think we can do. This body is like the vehicle, and everybody is born with a brand new spanking car. That is our body. And everyone has this inner consciousness, this soul that is within us. The soul is the driver of the car. Your vehicle is the vehicle, is like your body is the vehicle for your soul. And we all come in here with brand new spanking, like really nice skin, you know, everything beautiful. But then our whole life, some people take their car to the mechanic more than others. Why? We for sure, when we have a vehicle, we don't drive over a curb because we know it's a curb, right? If we drive over a curb, like then you go into a different call, and it wouldn't be this call. It'll be like a mental institution call. Like this is like, you know, we're not even trying to get there. We just want to make sure we have full control of our mind and what we can do. That's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to open up your mind to the actual endless possibilities that is out there that you can actually accomplish, because you cannot fail when you know what you're operating from. our body is this temple that we really take for granted, and we run it down to the ground. We'll stand outside in the heat profusely and not listen to it. Back pains, a cold, those are signs that you have not listened to your body for quite some time. If a cold hits you, or something that's a flu, or even worse, whatever it is, some people take medicine on the shelf for, those are all because of stressors that you've put your vehicle through. Our soul, our inner consciousness can control that. And so we're here to learn what that inner consciousness that drives the vehicle. We live in that three planes of understanding, right? We're spiritual creatures with this inner consciousness. We have intellect, and we live in physical bodies, okay? The intellect that I'm talking about, this is what makes us different. This is the reptilian brain. So we have a three-parted brain. This is like human brain. This is your reptilian brain, usually animals. That's why their brains are so small. See, look at this. This is a horse, the rabbit. The rabbit's tiny, like the rat's right here. And this is how the rat's brain look like. It's more of the reptilian brain, which they really only have the basic functioning of a brain, like fight, flight, um, recreate, eat, sleep, just a normal cycle. But then you kind of get into the mammal brain, limbic system. So a higher form of animal also has this. And this is your emotional brain. This is where actually like animals like puppies and cats would have some kind of like this type of brain to them, because they can feel happy, sad as well, right? So right here, cat, you could see they're starting to form this part of the brain. And this is really like the prefrontal cortex. And this is where pretty much a lot of creativity, imagination happens, right? So the human brain right here is neocortex, thought, imagination, consciousness, reasoning, rationalizing. This is what we have. It's actually interesting because dolphins, this is why they say dolphins are very advanced, because they do have similar and a very complex brain, if you could just compare versus a chimpanzee and humans. So they actually say that dolphins have more gifts, which they do, I think, senses and stuff. So they're very, very advanced part of the ecosystem. So I wanted to show you guys this because within our logical reasoning, we have this prefrontal cortex. And what we've been doing with this prefrontal logical brain is that we make decisions outside of our actual gauge of purpose. And because of that, we become seriously disoriented within our environment. Like if you look at the animal kingdom, they all look very unified because they don't have the prefrontal cortex to identify themselves as something that they're not. And I mean that in a lot of senses. Like for us, we always identify ourselves outside of who we're not, and who we are, these spiritual creatures with inner consciousness that are making these decisions and driving this physical body to create the reality and the experience that we are experiencing today, right? And so the lack of knowledge of who we are is because we don't take the time to actually go back to that basics, go back to that beginning of what I was talking about, where when we were doing the actual meditation exercise. I know Sherry joined us a little later, but we went to the fourth dimension where everything begins, where thought even begins, right? So I want to show you guys this. When you start actually focusing on the growth of you understanding this, and this journey of understanding the actual power that is held within your inner consciousness, these are the higher faculties that you will sharpen: perception, memory, imagination, intuition, will, reason, right? A lot of you guys are here because we all have something in common. We all believe that investments is a way for our future, right? And it's a lot of these, the reason why we're here is because of, everybody at some point had to think, okay, well, we've got to do something and invest and secure something for our future and for ourselves and for our family, right? But those are all what the security and the wealth and the happiness and the health, all of those are just byproducts when you're actually in the pursuit of what your real purpose is in life. And that's really hard to believe for some people because they're not actually trained to do that. And those are the conditionings that exist within our subconscious mind. You see, when you start working on understanding who you are and really focus in taking this time on being present with yourself, you will sharpen every and each higher faculties. Now, someone can teach you how to raise money for land development, but they're not going to teach you how to have the intuition not to lose that 30 million. That's all on you. Someone can teach you how to trade stocks. Someone can teach you how to buy real estate, do private lending. But no one can teach you the intuition on if you should put on the gas or to hit the brakes. There's a way to sharpen them. We don't just have them. We have them for use. That's what they are. They're genuine tools. They're actually there in our arsenal that oftentimes we don't even think about these words that are illustrated here unless it's presented to us. Or we're faced with an opportunity where we might have to ask, well, would this career be better than this? Would this deal be better than that? Then we have to challenge our perception. But then you're only using your higher faculties to which you never sharpened at the moment of an external environment as opposed to you designing the life that you want and utilizing the higher faculties to create it. You see, we're not byproducts of our environment. We actually create our environment. The reason why you are where you are now are decisions you made yesterday. And if we just want a different tomorrow, that means we can't be thinking the same thing as yesterday or today. So the thoughts has to be different in order for us to also experience something different. And as we go through those thoughts, that's the change in your imagination. Because then now you're thinking of experience that you've never had, that you want to have, relationships that you want to have. Right? And your ability to reason. You see, most that don't look into actually sharpening these, to me, these are, if I had like an arsenal, like literally, I would probably one day get a bunch of like fake metal bullets and then engrave these on the bullets and then show people like, this is the arsenal, this is the tool. That would be like a nice art project, actually. This is you, this is your strength, this is power. We have, for us to perform our best in anything that we do, we need to actually think about how these things have served us. Some people have bad memory, and I'll tell you why. Trauma. Oh shoot, I forgot this. Oh shoot, I forgot that. Is it okay for us to live for the rest of our life to say yes, that's okay? No. No, your life depends on this, guys. It's not okay to forget things. And we forget things because of the trauma. And we have those traumas because we haven't faced them. And that's the mindset. That's the warfare. You have to uncover the subconscious programming that we have within our minds. That's the war. When we break that down, That's when life begins, because that trauma happened in your past as an experience because we were byproducts of our environments, because we were never trained to create our own environment other than this paradigm, or this, a plate. Let's just say plate. These are your plate of options. Here's your what career what do you want to have? Here's your plate of options. That's a subconscious programming, right? So I want to show you guys this, the problematic state of consciousness. Let's look at this chart. Everything on the higher dimension of this chart is love. It's really just love or fear. Who do you want to be besides? Someone who's afraid, or someone who's loving and caring? Even if you were drowning, you don't want to be beside anybody who's scared. They're going to drag you down with them. You see, what happens is this. Here's a secret. I don't know if you guys even know. Accidents are not really accidents. It happens because there is something called a lower state of vibration, where bad things happen, where bad things are, by way of nature. And bad things are only happening because of where we are vibrating energetically. The same way you and I can communicate right now is a vibration by which we are directly connected to each other with no disconnect wherever you are in the world. You are just as connected to the bad things same way you are just as connected to the good things. And if you are experiencing life less than what you want, it just means you just need to get connected to where you want, to where you want to go. You just need to change your vibration levels. And here's the beautiful part. We have intellect to make that decision, to change our vibrational frequency so that we actually experience life beautifully. This is like a little flex that I'm going to tell you guys, but I always get parking downtown. I do. I always somehow find great parking. Not somehow, I do. I always do, actually. It's always so convenient. And when I come back, my car is always in the right condition. Whenever I drive in the highway, the other way is the traffic, not where I'm going. And I'm experiencing this because it's a vibrational energy. So I can go into another whole lecture about vibration. That's why we do this every Saturday, because there's always something fun to talk about. But I'm going to go into this chart and talk about this chart because this chart is, I would say, I'd used frequently until I memorize it. But this chart shows you the dimensions. So let's look at here, the third dimension. The third dimension here is the third dimensional narrative, okay? Everything that we are all experiencing. So if you think about it this way, a poor man goes into a restaurant, steals a bread. The baker gets mad at the poor man because the poor man can't pay for the bread. The baker never made enough money for them to pay for their utilities. And so the baker didn't pay for their utilities. So the utility company has a lot of other business owners that are also in your okay, bye guys. Bye. Arrears. And then they also then now will tell the government, look, we're going to lay off 3,000 employees because there's a lot of people that have defaulted on their payment and we can't make our payrolls. So it's either you, the government, save us, or we lay off 3,000 employees, which is a catastrophic like thing. And so what the government does instead is they print the money so that they can save the company. And then now the company is saved and keeps the 3,000 employees, but then the government devalues the money that the hard earner middle class workers work for. That's a three-dimensional narrative. Who's right? Who can actually tell me who did something right here? Yes. Yes, Sherry. Nobody can tell you. That's a three-dimensional narrative. See, what happens is this: when we argue over who's right, who said what, if you're arguing within the three-dimensional narrative, well, you said this word, you this word, and this is where actually, to be honest with you, growth happens. Because you should never care for the words, you need to feel the meaning, right? It's not about what is being said, it's what it's being felt. And so to be in the third, high or low third dimension, you are vibrating very low. You're experiencing life less than what you are supposed to experience. Believe me, you can go up the scale in your lifetime. I do it all the time. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to testify this. You can go up this scale and actually experience life the way it needs to be. We're supposed to experience it truly, not the mundane problems of this world or doing the tasks that we don't like, but more. There's more to life if we actually understand where we're supposed to be. You see, the world is shifting into something called the fourth dimension, whether you like it or not. Because our accessibility within social media has opened up a lot of realms within possibilities. That if somebody in this call were to tell you that they have a private plane, you guys would probably almost believe it because it's absolutely possible. It is possible. To know, like back then, they would make fun of you for just thinking of an extraordinary thing out of the box. They'd call the loony bin on you. Just or they'd even way back then they call you a witch if they've ever heard me talk like this. But we are in the fourth dimension, whether you like it or not, where we are coming to an understanding that everything is possible. Who here actually believe everything is possible? Yes, everything is possible. And you know what? Everything is possible when you're in the fourth dimension. Because what happens is this: as you transcend consciously, it's not a zero-sum game, it doesn't go back. What you guys are hearing here now is you guys just only grow from here. Everything just grows from here. And the beautiful part is that this is consciousness. This is not malleable knowledge about the current interest rates of the market and what you should be private lending things at. This is something that you will take in every lifetime, should you believe that you have another one. This is also what you are gonna pass on, should you have a next generation before you. You see, the generational curses that they're talking about, guys, it's the mind. It's the existing subconscious programming beliefs. It's your existing belief about money is their prison. If you made $50,000 a year and your child sees that, that is their box. That's what they're growing out of. The same $50,000 a year. Make $1 million a year, that's the same box. And you know what's interesting? I was actually with my niece this week. She's about, I think, 14 months now, 14 months. And I observe her. And babies are very close within the spiritual realm because really they just came from there. And with my deep connection of meditation, and I always find that she stares at me quite often as well, as much as I stare at her, and she plays with me, and she grabs my face and kisses me, which is absolutely wonderful and beautiful. But the reason why I mention her is because they have consciousness already. That's where we learn. Let me give you guys an example because I was on the phone with my property manager, and I was just telling my property manager a little bit of a gossip of this utility company that's monopolized in one of the cities that I have investments with. And I seriously haven't had a time to look at my emails within 4 days. And it was funny because she was threatening. She was like, I'm losing patience. Like her voicemail on my phone, like the utility company, they literally said to me, we're losing patience with you. And I found it so hilarious. I was like, I want to use this as a cover of a rap song because I feel like this is what something rappers would make fun of. But when I was telling my property manager about that scenario, about that lady that had left me that message, my niece, you could see her face, like she was almost frowning. Like she knew that there was an energy change. They're very conscious at this point, even to that little bit of a second, that I'm pretty sure I already programmed her to change energetically when talking about something. And that is how early we're all programmed. And that's how little we can be programmed. And that is what the choices that is how you're designing your life today, by the way. With those little things that people around us, whatever nicks they did that you had no clue, that's how you're deciding life. That's how you're living life. That's how you're waking up. That's how you're designing your life as of right now. But I'm telling you, those are existing subconscious programming that is not yours. And it is simply not enough to think positive out of it. You have to create new. You have to unlearn your existing subconscious programming and beliefs. And you have to create a life that is satisfactory to you. When you transcend to the fourth dimension, when we did the earlier meditation, we were in fourth dimension. That is fourth dimension, guys. Welcome. The fourth dimension is the transcendence of moving life with purpose. Why is this important? Because everything in life that has life has purpose. A tree has a purpose. A tree's purpose is to grow, is to live, to have leaves, to have fruits if it can. So when season comes, it can wither, but guess what? Come back again because it has a purpose. You see, when you have a purpose in life, because the reason why we don't even think about our purpose is because we have the intellect to decide everything else but this. And this is what's slowing you down because you're going against the nature of what we are created to do, is that to live purposefully within our life. See, we make decisions based out of, again, limiting beliefs, our ideas of money. People want to become a doctor because they think doctors make a lot of money. I've met a lot of very, very like poor doctors, right? So a lot of the times when we don't have a purpose, we can't, it's difficult for us that when an external environment happens, When something happens within our interaction with our friend, our interaction with our family, it may be a bad deal, maybe a deal that you haven't gotten yet, maybe you're crippled with a lot of deals, and you just don't know which one to choose from. That's what happens when you lack of purpose, because you are waiting for the external environment to tell you what's happening around you instead of you deciding internally of what it is that you are to do. The same way a tree has no consciousness other than I need to live, therefore it grows no matter the season. It will always grow. But for us, we don't think about that enough. We actually don't live with that. We don't live with the idea that we live with a purpose. To have a purpose is the transcendence, and I'll tell you why. Because the purpose now becomes the goal. The purpose now becomes superseding of all third dimensional narrative that you are going to experience within your lifetime. Because you are going to see above and beyond. The purpose is like the airplane that'll take you over all the problematic state of consciousness within the third dimension of everybody bickering or her having different very shallow conversations. The more you transcend, you'll be able to see everybody else's paradigms. A lot of it is that if we don't live with this purpose, it is so important. It is so important. It is a matter of literally life and death. You see, what happens here is on the lower vibration, you see it says death. When you're angry, when you're upset, when you're not doing anything with life, that's where you can really see a paradigm of people that aren't doing really well. And they're usually the ones pretty sick too, in all aspect of health. We can't change that unless we change our frequencies, our thought process. Start with a purpose. Transcend yourself to a next level of consciousness. And as you do that, you will experience life fully. You see here, I love it where it says here, you'll experience synchronicities. Right here at the top. On the fifth dimension. You experience life synchronicities. When you have stepped out with your purpose, you identified what that is in your life. And you look at this chart and say, what can I do today to step out with a passion with my purpose? Whatever that is. And you continue that suggestive programming every hour that you can. And you make that commitment. Synchronicity is an indication that you've transcended consciously. And when you experience synchronicity, it means you are going to meet the right people at the right time, at the right place. You will experience just things happening in front of you in the least you expect it to, and it happens to be something beyond that you needed at that time. You see, synchronicity is another form of abundance. Sometimes we think abundance is just money. Ooh, more money, more abundance. But actually, the more we can recognize how well the universe is actually helping us is by way giving gratitude back to how it's giving back to you. Synchronicity, if anyone has ever bought you a coffee at some point, whether, some stranger or a friend, synchronicity happens when we pay attention again. The more we go into the beginning, you can be in that beginning at any state. You can have your eyes open too. And then you'll actually see synchronicities. I'll tell you guys beautiful story. I was walking down the street, okay? And just a beautiful day. And as I walked down, I looked to my left and I saw this bouquet of flowers. Just like with a nice bow, purple bow on it. and it had a sticky note that says, "Take me." It was like meant to be. And I felt like I I felt like it was for me because I mean, it was on the floor. It says, "Take me." Like, who's I don't know. I don't know who it's for other than me. I just took it. I felt like it was mine. And that's a form of synchronicity. That's a form of abundance. I'm listening. I'm listening to the world that is around me. I'm listening to myself. There's a lot to learn when we listen to ourselves. Because who else lived our life if it's not us? So if you don't listen to you, who's the best teacher then? We need to be always reflecting. If we have a trigger mechanism with somebody and it triggers us, take a step back and say, why did this trigger me? Why is this difficult for me? Take a step back. We are mirrors of each other. We can see what we don't like. That's why mom and daughters always fight because they're mirrors of each other, right? That's how usually it goes. Families always fight because they usually see what they don't like about the other person is how they feel inside. What you don't like about the world is how you truly feel inside. And all of those are low vibrations. You see, your journey should not be heavy. Your baggage has no weight. You have everything that you need for who you need to be and who you need to become right now. And what you're carrying is just the perfect right amount for you. So if you feel like you're carrying something, that means you're carrying something that's not for you. You're carrying something that's not yours. It's somebody else's idea. Because your journey should be light. You should feel like a feather going through life. And I mean that ever so deeply. Sure, there could be times within the third dimension of that causes me a curveball there. But that's life. That's the roller coaster. But the true nature of our inner consciousness, our spiritual self, is a light journey, not the physical journey. The physical journey is a byproduct of the inability of being able to tap into that inner consciousness, into that beginning of where we are to create, where we can create our new self-image, not based out of the existing paradigms that have been embedded into us since we were young, but through who we want to be. I really need you guys to give this a thought. Stop thinking of things that you don't want and start thinking of things that you do want. You see, most people don't think. If they do, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. I really want to challenge you guys this week. Spot the three-dimensional play of ego. Every conversation that you have with anybody this week, 2 ears. Listen with an open heart. Don't listen to react. If you gotta hear what they're saying 3 times because you need to lag, say it. Just so you can practice to actually listen and hear. And you'll soon hear that most people aren't talking about anything. They really aren't. And then, when you find the people that you do want to be attracted with because you've identified your purpose, you'll see the quality in conversations because you're actually listening. Spot the three-dimensional play of ego. Take a step back if someone says something. Let's say they mention your culture, your workplace, whatever it is to put you in the category of your past paradigm, spot that and reflect on it. Just reflect on it and allow them to continue their thought. See what quality you're really getting out of people as well. And the more you exercise that, the better your relationship goes. We all want to do business here. And for a very long time, may I say, how do we want to get paid as well? For a very long time. And with that only comes that practice of spotting the three-dimensional play of ego. The ego is the expectation of what we think things should be or shouldn't be. Those are just clouds. They cloud our consciousness. Nothing matters but here and now. I pulled you guys in. We went to fourth dimension earlier. That is what matters. If you've ever been in a fight with someone, the more you practice that way that you pull back, then you'll realize the truth. It's all love. It's all love. And you progress based on your desires of what it is that you want, not what you don't want to experience. You see, the words we say, as negative as they are the curses. Because words, if your thoughts are seeds, your words are pinning that, making that permanent, the nail in the coffin. You have power in your tongue, and yet we use it so wastefully to say things that are mundane, that are hurtful to us and other people. If babies as early as 14 months can recognize an energetic change, how much more words can change? That is why we are living in the where we're living right now. This is why we're experiencing what experiencing right now. That's why when you go to a coffee shop, maybe 1 out of 3 times the lady will actually smile at you and feel present with you while happily serving you, because she's happy to have seen you and have met you and being able to do her work. Her purpose is to greet. That's what a cashier is. Their purpose in life is to greet people, to make them feel welcome, seen, recognized, heard, felt. Imagine a business being operated like that. Would you go to that cafe every morning, Sherry? If the coffee lady looks at you with such comfort in their eyes and say, "Good morning, boss. Nice to see you today. Is there anything I can get for you now that you're here?" Imagine that feeling. Yes, I would love to get a coffee to get my day started. Okay, I'll have that coffee ready for you, Bob. Do you want to sit here or do you want to take it to go? Because of this, maybe Bob want to sit here and just enjoy the moment. You see, what happens is not that. Why? Because nobody does any more than what they're supposed to, because people lack a purpose. They're trying to work for the money instead of knowing that it'll come to you when you have a purpose. You don't need to worry about anything that you don't need to worry about. All you need to do is be present and appreciate the moment, accept the gifts of Bob's smile. That's the tip. If you allow Bob to enjoy that moment with you, that's a tip for there's this irreplaceable value of that connection that money cannot buy. That's how businesses thrive. Why do we need to spend $1,000, $100, $7 for coffee for us to be treated this way? We really shouldn't. Because this is invaluable. There's no monetary grade to what we could do with just being present. Because the presentness and acceptance of that moment and that energetic exchange in itself is energy, in itself is abundance. The allowance of it, the attention to it is what makes life, is what makes this whole experience, right? So I really would like you to challenge you guys this week, if you guys want to take this journal challenge. Find anything that clouds your consciousness this week. Anything that takes you away from your purpose. Any limiting beliefs, any thoughts, any ideas, and just write them down. Your commitment to identifying the illusion of the self will demonstrate the pace at which you are building your new self. Your commitment to identifying the illusion of the self, which is who you think you are today. I think I'm Bob today, right? Your commitment to identifying all those illusions of the self. If you're a cashier, I think I'm a cashier. Those are all illusions of the self. Identify what they are and rewrite them to what you want. And the more you think about this, the faster you connect with your future self. The future self that has attained everything that it is that you truly desire out of life, and everything that you want to experience is now being experienced with that future self. And so if you identify what that future self embodies, poise, confidence, speech, how they exist in the room, the respect they get, the look they get from people, how they get treated, how people approach them and give them eye contact. Yeah, you're going to look at every single person in the eye because you want to make sure you are sharp. Because when you are someone important, you got fortress to protect. So the way you're going to look is with sharpness when you need to, and softness when you need to. Identifying those, embodying them. Now, today. Because in order for you to get to where you want to go, you have to decide where you're going. And so if you haven't identified who you are, who you anticipate you should be, you will remain the same person as you do yesterday. You see, my mentor told me a few months ago, he asked me, how do I envision my future? I said, traveling, going to hotels, speaking, different hotels, having lots of conferences. He says, you see that as your future? And I said, yes. He says, so why are you building your closet? Why are you buying so many clothes and shoes and bags if that wasn't even part of your future? I gave it a good thought. I was wasting a lot of time. I didn't need that. I didn't need that many things. They were just things. I wasn't after the things. I was after the experience, or the ideas that the things could, the the ideas or the potential experiences that the things could give me, instead of creating the experience that I want and just having what I need for the moment that I need to have them. You see, oftentimes we work on the wrong thing because we haven't truly visualized of what that thing or what it is that we want to experience, who we want to become. So everything begins with a purpose. We are citizens of the universe, embodied as energy moving with consciousness. We are citizens in the universe. Everybody acknowledges that. You're a big part of this whole. You're a very important part of this whole. You matter. Every single one of you guys are this light being, this that's a part of this whole big thing, embodied as energy, moving with consciousness. We are all energetic beings, vibrating at a certain level of frequencies, and we all have our consciousness to make a decision of what it is that we want for our lives. Okay? See, I wrote this. This is in my journal. I'm gonna do some journal readings as well once a week. And I want us to go through this. While movement and changes in the outer world may signal life, not all life contributes to the same level of energy. Okay? Our existence within the ecosystem is purpose-driven, and the lack of purpose disrupts its natural order, going against the very laws that sustain life by design. This absence of purpose reveals itself in dissatisfaction, a relentless need for change, and a gap between where we are and where we want to be in happiness, health, and wealth. You see, the lack of purpose drives people for constant need for external change. The lack of purpose will drive people for the constant need of external change. The lack of purpose will always drive people the need for external change. And I say that in multiple times because it is not the situation that it is the problem. It is us. It is our inability to create and understand who we are truly, what we're meant to do within our lives truly. Therefore, we will always have this dissatisfaction of I should probably earn a little bit more so I have a little bit more cash so I can go on a couple of extra vacations a year with my family or pay down faster the debt that I have. But you have to focus on your purpose. It says here by reflecting on our purpose and taking steps in the right direction, we invite synchronicities into our life. Synchronicities, again, is what I was talking about, where everything just aligns. I promise you guys, if you tell me what it is that you want out of life, we can book that one-on-one and I'll tell you how you're going to get it. And I'm going to show you that you yourself, you're going to tell me stories of synchronicities because I shown you the way on how you're going to get there because it's not knowledge that you need. We don't need any more knowledge. We need to unlearn the paradigms. That's the problem. We can have as much education as we can, but unless we change what's controlling the output will always be less than what we want. It gives us a lasting and profound fulfillment throughout our journey. This deal is between you and no one else. The war is within you guys. Your ability to constantly pull yourself and say, is this argument a third-dimensional narrative that I should continue to talk about or to save my case or to fight my case? No one put you in your position other than you. And the only person that's going to get you out of your position is you. And the only way you can get out of your position if you start thinking of the new you. When you start thinking of the new you and you embody that new you start living with that new you presently. And once you start thinking like that new you'll start unlearning or seeing these paradigms of what you thought who yourself was truly. And you start unlearning them so that you can actually create the life that you want to experience by way the universe comes and provides synchronicities to allow you an actual lasting fulfillment and journey. When you are not in the lower vibration where nothing bad happens to you and your family, and you are actually providing inheritance of good mental well-being, not just financial well-being. Not just the knowledge by which you are providing them generational, foundational mindset that will take them further than where you've taken yourself. Because with this, it's not limited to what it is that you've done, but it's really just the byproduct of what it is of identifying your purpose and creating those suggestive programmings for yourself and understanding that you need to ask yourself more questions. You need to question what you're thinking and you're feeling. You have to understand who you are. You need to meet yourself here in the fourth dimension where everything begins. I want to challenge you guys this week to start looking at these three-dimensional narratives that you're experiencing. These limiting beliefs, what your beliefs about money. Start rewriting them. I have to work hourly for my money. No, you don't. But write them down, because when you write them, you can start questioning them if they're real. Because if it just stays in our thoughts, it's useless. It's weight. It stresses you out, gives you wrinkles. Right? So thank you guys, you beautiful creature, for joining. And I will see you all for next Saturday.